What up, gents? Welcome to TSG Uncut. I am your host, Sean C. And today we're going to answer the question, will science make men unnecessary? Do me a favor, hit that like button, consider subscribing to the channel, and without further ado, let's get started.
This is just a reminder for men that scientists have now discovered a way for women to impregnate themselves using their own bone marrow. And the only child that can result from those pregnancies are female. So we no longer have any need for you, genetically or physically. So, tread lightly.
First of all, stop the cap. So this woman here brings up scientific studies that have been going on for the last 20 or 30 years, trying to see if they can make it viable that from women's bone marrow, that they can create embryos so that women that are having fertility trouble can have a chance to have babies. This woman goes on to say that the only resulting children that can be made from this type of procedure are female. And that is absolutely correct. If you get the material from a female, it would only create another female if this was viable. The problem is that even though that this research is going on and they've been able to be successful in creating the organs of an embryo in mice, they are still far away from being able to create an embryo of a human or a primate. Matter of fact, one of the things holding this type of scientific study back is the fact that it is potentially unethical to be able to do this. Now, right here in this article from The Guardian, based on some other scientific articles, it says synthetic human embryos are not an immediate prospect. We know less about human embryos than mouse embryos, and the inefficiency of mouse synthetic embryos suggests that translating the findings to humans requires further development. Now is a good time to consider the best legal and ethical framework to regulate research and use of human synthetic embryos and to update the current regulation. The creation of synthetic human embryos is outside of the legal framework of the UK's Human Fertilization and Embryology Act, but it would be unlawful to use them to establish a pregnancy in a woman because they are not classed as permitted embryos. And so for them to be able to translate creating these embryos of a mouse, synthetic embryos of a mouse, to that of a human, it is still far beyond. So the fact that this woman would get on TikTok and make a TikTok just to say the very end part, which is the most damaging part, that women do not need men in order to create babies, and once they do, they will have no use for us physically or at all. No use for men whatsoever in the continuance of society. That's all cap. Just talked about this on one of my recent live streams where I talked about how society functions because of men.
Would you rather have a high-profile job for no pay or clean sewers for $100,000 a year?
I struggle with the smell of poo. So I think a high-profile job with no pay.
I would prefer to have the high-profile job without pay, because if I was high-profile, I'd market myself.
Perfect.
I'm cleaning sewers for $100K, man. Ain't no shame in my game.
I'm cleaning sewers. There's no question about it.
I'm gonna clean the sewers for $100,000 a year.
Or clean sewers for $100,000 a year?
Oh my God. I'd rather the first one.
As you can see in this video, most women want a soft, cushy job where they don't have to do much. They would rather take a high-profile job where they're not making any money than to go ahead and work a sewer job or a blue-collar job in which it's going to be hard work that they would make $100,000 a year, which they claim they want. If that is the case, how are women not going to need men? Because the reason that society functions today is because you have hardworking men and women, predominantly men, in some of these high-risk, dangerous jobs that most women don't want to do. If those men aren't doing that, you don't have your electricity, you don't have your plumbing, you don't have your sewer systems, you don't have these nice buildings because men built those buildings. So stop the cap out here talking about y'all don't need men. Men and women need each other. It is the most irresponsible thing that you can hear on the internet today. Leave that type of woman alone. She is completely delusional. Do you think that us as humans should consider to be able to have kids without using a male donor? Yes or no? Why or why not? Let's get the conversation started down below, and I'll be down there with you in a moment. And if you like this video, check out this other great video from us here at TSG Uncut.